Welcome to the first lecture in the marketing series. In the first lecture, we'll introduce the theory of the diffusion of innovations. What do you think diffusion of innovations might mean? Please pause the video lecture to come up with your own definition. Diffusion of innovations is a theory that seeks to explain how, why, and at what rate new ideas and technologies spread through cultures. Marketeers are particularly interested in the diffusion process as it determines the success and failure of any new product introduced in the market. It is quite important for a marketeer to understand the diffusion process, because if one better understands how innovations diffuse, one can better predict and manage that diffusion. The theory of the diffusion of innovations was introduced by Rogers in 1962 and elaborated upon by Moore in 2004. What kind of curve is this? Right, a normal curve. Rogers placed potential innovation adopters into one of 5 categories. And so we have people very much at the left that adopt the innovation quickly, and people very much at the right that adopt the innovation rather slowly. For example, consider the first microwave. There were households that adopted this innovation quickly. Those were innovators and early adopters. And there were other households that did not adopt the microwave until it became standard in kitchens. Those are the laggards. The largest group of adopters are the early and late majority. In order for an innovation to be truly successful, it needs these groups to adopt the innovation because they represent almost 70% of the total market. Why do marketeers care so much about how the diffusion of innovation works? Well, given that there are different adopter categories, this framework makes it obvious that the customer changes as an innovation matures. It is only if the marketing team is able to sell the product successfully to all the adopter categories that performance will be high. According to Moore, the marketeer should focus on one group of customers at a time, using each group as a base for marketing to the next group. While every transition from one group of adopters to the next has its challenges, the most difficult step is making the transition between early adopters and early majority. Successfully managing the transition between early adopters and early majority is called crossing the chasm. Early adopters are concerned with technology and performance. They tend to be opinion leaders. They are the type of person you might call if you were considering to buy a new cell phone. The early majority is concerned with solutions and convenience. They evaluate a product in terms of what problem it solves for them and how conveniently. Moore depicts the transition between the early adopters and the early majority as a chasm that many high technology companies never successfully cross. Remember, however, in order for an innovation to be truly successful, an innovation needs to be adopted by the early and late majority groups that represent almost 70% of the total market. As an example, one can consider the space-saving front-wheel drive layout, which allowed 80% of the area of the car's floor plan to be used for passengers and luggage. This layout places the engine in the front and the engine drives the front wheels only. The front-wheel drive was introduced in 1959 in the Mini. It took 20 years before it became the norm for small and medium-sized cars. Next, let's take a look at how marketeers can predict the speed at which innovations diffuse through society. Can you think of product characteristics that might determine whether new products get adopted fast and others slowly? Maybe try to think of an innovation that diffused quickly and one that failed to ever catch on. Please pause the lecture video to formulate an answer. The reason one product diffuses rapidly and another slowly can be found in a small handful of product characteristics: relative advantage, compatibility, complexity, trialability, and observability. People who understand the role of these factors can better anticipate likely adoption and proactively steer development and marketing in ways that encourage faster adoption. The first product-based factor is relative advantage, the degree to which a product is perceived as being better than the product it replaces. Examples of innovations that have high relative advantage are generic drugs, Google as a search engine, and MRIs. Generic drugs have the same benefits as brand name drugs, but at a lower price. Google's search engine is superior to other search engines, while the costs to the consumer do not change. MRI, or magnetic resonance imaging, provides such a huge net benefit over traditional X-rays that the fast adoption of this innovation is almost a no-brainer. MRI is much more expensive than X-rays, but MRI machines do not expose people to radiation. MRI is much more versatile than X-rays, and it is used to examine a large variety of medical conditions. Please note that relative advantage can be affected by an increase in benefits or a reduction in costs, vis-a-vis the alternative, but it is the net benefit of both those factors that will determine the relative advantage. So even though MRIs are more expensive, the value of the advantages outweighs the extra costs, increasing relative advantage. Reduced costs can take the form of lower effort, time savings, or money savings. Increased benefits might mean greater productivity, efficacy, reach, or even social status. Let's assume you are invited for dinner to my house. Please choose what kind of bottle of wine you will be bringing, one with a cork or one with a twist-off cap. The second product-based factor is compatibility, the degree to which a product is consistent with existing values and experiences of the adopter. People tend to not bring a bottle of wine with a twist-off cap to a formal dinner because they associate it with lower quality wine. But 10% of fine wines are actually spoiled due to faulty corks. Deep and long-held beliefs limit the acceptance of the twist-off cap as a new closure that has been shown to prevent such spoilage. The twist-off cap as a product is not consistent with existing values and experience of consumers of wine, meaning the product's compatibility is low. The twist-off cap has been long available, but only recently more high-end winemakers have begun using metal caps and started to challenge closely held beliefs. Another example of a product that struggles to become widely adopted due to low compatibility is concentrated laundry detergent. Many people don't actually believe that you can do a load of laundry with a very small amount of super concentrated laundry detergent. Consumers are locked into previous methods of measuring laundry detergent. It is important to point out that compatibility here does not mean the ability of one product, like a computer, to work with another product, like software. Even though I point this out specifically every year, when asked to define compatibility, students tend to remember compatibility as computer compatibility. The third product-based factor is complexity, the degree to which a product is difficult to use and understand. The first PC was quite complex in use. Simply logging on to a computer was difficult for most individuals. A vast majority of consumers avoided using computers until more intuitive interfaces came along. The fourth product-based factor is trialability, the degree to which a product may be experimented with on a limited basis. Producers of goods or services do all kinds of things to increase trialability, which will increase the speed of innovation diffusion. For example, they might offer free samples of consumer packaged goods, allow test drives for automobiles, or set up demonstration models of popular consumer electronics. Online services such as Dropbox often allow for a free trial period or a free basic account, where you would pay only if you needed premium services. That business model is referred to as the freemium model. The fifth product-based factor is observability, the degree to which product usage and impact are visible to others. Highly observable products, such as second cars and satellite TVs, may spur others to adopt the same new products. In contrast, the difficulty of observing someone using preventive medicine or tax preparation software means that such usage is less likely to influence others to adopt these products. You might want to think of other products that are not visible when used. Research has shown that the product-based factors of relative advantage, compatibility, complexity, trialability, and observability can explain up to 87% of the variance in the rate of new product adoption. So, let's recap the product-based factors that govern the rate of innovation diffusion. Relative advantage is the degree to which a product is perceived as being better than the product it replaces. The higher the relative advantage, the faster the rate of innovation. Compatibility is the degree to which a product is consistent with values and experiences of the adopter. The higher the compatibility, the faster the rate of innovation. Complexity is the degree to which a product is difficult to understand and use. The higher the complexity, the lower the rate of innovation. Trialability is the degree to which a product may be experimented with on a limited basis. The higher the trialability, the faster the rate of innovation. Observability is the degree to which a product's usage and impact are visible to others. The higher the observability, the faster the rate of innovation. This concludes our first lecture in the Marketing Lecture Series.